One of the pieces that we've been working on has to do with the NASPA, what we're kind of calling the NASPA Lifecycle, which is basically how NASPA can serve, the accounting community from, the postgraduate, pre-CPA days, when they're students, when they're taking the test, all the way up through, continuing education and the various ways they can go in their career. How just kind of, I hate to call it the elevator speech, but when you're speaking to people about, how NASPA does serve the life cycle of the accounting industry, how do you sort of describe what NASPA is and how it does that?
Yeah, NASPA, like many other organizations, we have evolved over times to serve different needs. As different needs arise, we try to be there. We recognized several years ago that NASPA and state boards of accountancy, our members, are more than just about getting someone licensed as a CPA. We really need to start that much earlier, because a CPA license really tells the public this person is ethical, properly educated, with the right experience, and has passed a very rigorous examination. But we sort of back up from that, even back into the university setting, where we try now to introduce students to ethics to start with. In other words, you can get your debits and credits right, but if that's all you have right, if your technical competence is all there is to you, then you are sorely lacking to go out to the public. Because the public wants you to be honest, they want you to do a quality work, and they want you to keep up with education and all that kind of thing. So we start introducing them to our student chapters for the Center for the Public Trust, which is the ethics arm of NASPA. So we try to ground them in ethics to start with. Then we get them in, we have an influence on their education, gearing them toward the right courses. They come out of college, out of the university with the proper education, and then we, working with our partners at the American Institute of CPAs, the AICPA, working with them, try to get these people geared toward proper study for the CPA exam. Once they pass that and they become licensed by the state, which is done through the State Board of Accountancy, we're not done with them, that we're just starting. We actually say to the public, here's a CPA properly licensed. He or she is ready to give you a quality job on anything you hire them for. But we can't stop there, because we have to provide continuing education. The way we do that is through our registered sponsors. So we have a registry of sponsors, qualified sponsors. We study their materials, we study their content, and we approve them as sponsors. Our state boards rely upon that. The public relies upon that. So when a CPA properly licensed continues to get his education, they have to do that every year. They go to this registry to select a sponsor to provide those courses. We're still not through with them, because they're part of an accountancy licensing database, ALD. What that means is every CPA in the country, once we complete this program, and we now have 35 states enrolled in the program, we have others coming on. Once we have every licensee on this program, a member of the public will be able to go to this database. It will be a searchable database, and if David Costello in their community wants to do work in the community, they say, well, I want to find something about you. So they'll go to this database, see whether or not I've been in trouble, whether or not I have been exercised my ethics, or if I've done some things incompetently or ethically. So that's part of the life cycle, the ALD. We're still not through with you. In a very positive way, we have another function in NASPA called the Accountancy Licensing Library. And that is for any CPA or any member of the public or any state board person to go to, access, to find out about the laws, the various rules of accounting, and each state has its own nuances as far as accountancy law and rules. But instead of having to dig through all 55 jurisdictions, you can go and say, I want to find out what it takes to either be a CPA in Wisconsin, or what I have to do for continuing education. So that, again, is part of the life cycle. and that's the Accountancy Licensing Library. We have other programs like Learning Market, where if I want to find out what is the best course on during the week of December the 5th that I can take on tax accounting for corporations. What's the best course? Where do I go? We have a database that will provide that need. We work very carefully also with with the professional societies, the state societies, also the American Institute of CPAs, to in a collaborative way to provide services, to direct people to those services sometimes, so that the individual licensee, the individual CPA is somewhat validates our trust in him or her when we offer them out to the public as a certified public accountant.
I know too that a lot of what NASPA has done in the past and continues to do, a lot of it is kind of a clearinghouse function. It oversees a lot of things, but NASPA has to be pretty nimble too. I mean, I know when mobility first started to come around, it wasn't just a matter of working with the state boards on legislation. It was also what could NASPA do in its own service provider area to help accountants maximize their own effectiveness with mobility.
Exactly. Mobility is a significant dynamic today that was not present 2, 3, 4 years ago and beyond, and it's such a necessity. It's not. It used to be somewhat of a luxury to have 1 or 2 or 3 states around you to allow your CPAs go into their states. Now it's a necessity. We're all so interconnected, not just in the United States and in the other 5 jurisdictions we have, but we also throughout the world. We're interconnected through technology. There are foreign audit firms that are practicing in and out of states, and we have to address that issue. But currently we have this issue in our own country of 50 states plus 5 jurisdictions of CPAs who all pass the same exam, who for the most part all are similarly educated, have the same or similar experience, and yet we've had states with differing rules not allowing CPAs to come into their state unless they go through a rigorous process of either additional coursework in some states or having to apply for reciprocal licenses and going through a lot of red tape. Mobility has cut through all of that to say, if my rules and laws are substantially similar to yours, then we ought to be able to allow our CPAs to go back and forth. And that's what's happening. No notice is required, no fees are required, but also on the side of supporting state boards, there's also what we call no escape, and that is if you misbehave in Wisconsin and you're from Tennessee, you're going to not only be disciplined by Tennessee, you can be disciplined by Wisconsin. And so we like that aspect of it. Mobility, the time has come, it is here. It's a tremendous benefit not only to CPAs, it's a tremendous benefit to state boards of accountancy, to each state, to each jurisdiction that we work with. So I think in my time being with NASPA, it perhaps, and no, not perhaps, it is the most significant development that is beneficial to CPAs, to clients of CPAs, and to the public at large.
And for the boards, it makes the boards a lot more, they intercommunicate a lot more.
Absolutely. They do. It's a tremendous improvement for boards. Just think about the staff time it takes to try to determine whether or not David Costello's auditing course is similar to the one in California. He took it back in 1962. Is it the same? It gets involved in all kind of silly stuff. So we're beyond that, and now states are more concerned. Do you meet the requirements of the Uniform Accountancy Act? And if you do, and just about every state has that in a substantial way. And if you do, you can be under mobility.
And something else that NASPA does is NASPA, the conferences. the things that happen, that NASPA promotes during the course of the year. And I know that the East and West conferences just came to an end. Just wondering, there's a lot of information in a short period of time. What do you think were some of the major takeaways this year?
Yeah, the East and West regionals each year are tremendous forums for our state boards. We bring together in each of the conferences representatives from certainly the states in their region, and talk about the emerging issues, and we talk about current issues. We talk about matters that are really affecting boards, that boards are having an issue with, where NASPA may be of some help, or where others could be of some help. This year, a couple of key areas. Certainly the private company standards is a big issue with our member boards. As you may know, state boards of accountancy are really responsible for all accounting standards, not just for private companies, but also for public companies. Now, we defer the setting of those standards to other entities like the FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, or the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, even the PCAOB. We don't have to. States have sovereign rights in the setting of standards, but we historically have deferred that privilege and that duty to other standard setting agencies. But the big issue today is, should one set of standards fit all companies? Like under Financial Accounting Standards Board standards, GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, should Generally Accepted Accounting Principles apply both to public and to private companies? And that's been actually been a debate for many years. Well, it's come to a head now with the Blue Ribbon panel of the Financial Accounting Foundation coming out with a report saying, yes, it's time to set up a separate private standards board. So that was a big issue at our regional conference and debated hotly. The Financial Accounting Foundation will come out hopefully sometime this year with a decision on whether or not they want to set up a separate private standard setting board or leave it as it is with the Financial Accounting Standards Board. So that was one of the big issues. Another big issue, a much more pragmatic issue to some of the boards, was the fact that because of the economy being below average in many states, it's affecting regulatory boards. The regulatory boards charge fees to licensees, both individuals and to their firms, and many times, most boards, almost always, will have a somewhat of a surplus. Well, this money is really, by law, directed to the practice of accountancy and the regulation of accountancy. But many state governments will sweep those funds into the general fund and leave the state board without any funds to work with. More so than that, in some states we experienced this year, these boards of accountancy will be threatened with consolidation, and sometimes with, in a couple of cases, with being done away with altogether, which would really leave the public exposed. So this is a big issue. We talked about money. How can state boards of accountancy be more independent with respect to their financial funding? And also, how can they be more independent with respect to their structure, where they're not threatened year after year after year by some enterprising legislator or some similar kind of function. So we're talking about how we can get state boards properly funded and where they can keep their funds without fear of those monies being swept away. Actually, some people believe state boards of accountancy are funded by tax money, but they're really not. It's not like other government services. State boards of accountancy are funded by fees that are charged back to the accounting community, not by the general public. So we think it's grossly unfair. We think it's inappropriate for state governments to sweep that money into the general fund as if it were a tax. So that's a big issue we're talking about.
What about, will any of these things come up? I know the NASPA Summit is coming up, and it's about time for the 3-year plan. I know it's also in the works. Are these things that will fold into those, or?
Well, the two separate issues. The summit, we're having a couple of one unique summit meeting this year. It's the first of its kind, It's an international, well, at least a North American summit, I guess I would say, because we've got Canada involved in it, and of course the AICPA being the professional group, the professional membership group in our country, and they will be represented. We will be there. And we will talk about 3 or 4 major issues. Of course, one of the major issues today is sort of international mobility. How do we address foreign firms practicing in states, and sometimes without a license, without a permit to do so? We believe that some of this kind of practice may be in ignorance. Maybe they just don't know the law, because in many countries the professional institute like the AICPA and the regulatory body, they're one and the same. But in this country they're not. The regulation and the professional practice of accountancy are completely different. They're separated. So we're going to be talking about that issue at the summit meeting. We'll talk about other global alliances that we're making. Certainly, we'll talk about the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, it's called. We'll talk about that. The United States is the most significant country that has not adopted IFRS. And we'll talk about the developments on that. Even this week, during July, on July the 7th, there will be a round table that the SEC is sponsoring. We're represented there, talking about, well, how can we, or whether or not we should go ahead and adopt IFRS. We have lots of comments about that. We've made our views known of that. So we'll be talking about that as well at the conference.
Right. And then on to the 3-year plan.
Our 3-year plan is, of course, is a rolling 3-year plan. We're in the process of putting it together as we speak. It's always a dynamic plan. It's based upon, first of all, the competency of our employees, our best asset, and we start there. What kind of abilities do we have? What kind of abilities do we still lack that we need to bring in? And we start there, and then what can we continue to sustain in our business? What new things do we need to do? We're very excited about that. But certainly the CPA exam administration is still our flagship operation. Everything sort of revolves around that. We do nothing to damage that. In fact, we do everything we can to enhance and improve that. So the core of our 3-year plan will be around the examination. But we still have we have many other exciting things going on. We have one exciting thing in that we are really going to concentrate and focus on a new division, which is Association Management Services. We plan to market that very aggressively to smaller to mid-size associations where they may not have their own executive staff or the administrative staff, and we can step in there and do that for them. So we're looking forward to that kind of work in the future. That'll be a big part of our 3-year plan.
Right. And when we started talking about the plan, you had mentioned, one of the first things you do is look at, where NASPA is in terms of its employee structure, what we have and what we don't have.
Right.
I had a conversation with Mr. Bishop not too long ago about just the importance of investing in employees. And I'm just wondering, since that is sort of where everything starts for you, how key is it that you put the time and the effort into staff?
It's the most important part of running a business, of doing anything relationally involved, and I can't think of any business that's not relationally involved. Employees are people. They're our most important, most precious asset. It's amusing to me that some companies, and I know several of them, and I have known several of them down through the years, they'll go out and spend millions of dollars on plant and equipment. Think nothing about it. They'll go through and they'll get the shiniest new piece of equipment and maybe operate it at 60% capacity. But when it comes to hiring a competent, high-quality employee, they'll squeeze the nickel to the buffalo haulers. They want to be cheap. They don't want to provide them benefits, and that's just utter nonsense. In NASPA, what we try to do is identify people that fit in our organization, that and that are very competent people, passionate people. That's number one. They got to be passionate, and they come to us, and then you don't address them as how little can I pay them, or well, how skimpy can I be on benefits. That's not what we do. So we try to be very fair with our pay, very fair with our benefits. Not can we be the lowest kid on the block, not at all. Because this is our best asset, not something we're trying to skimp on. So we want to not only bring a person into an environment that we think is an enhancement to our culture as they come in, but also one that we can hopefully encourage to work in our organization, be promoted in our organization, and make a career out of this. So again, it's not like a piece of equipment where you have to, you buy a piece of equipment in 5 years, you've got to buy another piece. No, we want our employees, our best asset, to stay with us until they get ready to retire. And in order to do that, you've got to invest in them, not only with benefits, not only with proper and fair pay, but also you've got to care for them. And what I mean by that is be attentive. We follow those 4 fish principles. One of them is that we're there for our employees. And it's not about making my day, it's about making your day. And that's what we want our employees to realize. We really do care about you. And at the end of the day, you go home, there's a problem with the family, there's a death in the family, that hurts us like it hurts you. Maybe not to the same depth because of this family, but it hurts us. We grieve about it. And we're going to stop what we're doing, we're going to wrap our arms around you. We think that's important. It's the way families work, and we do have the sort of the family motif around here.
I know as you get ready to transition out and move on to some other things, just looking back, just even some of the things we were talking about, just the mobility, be it U.S., international, or both, and IFRS, and the introduction of international testing sites, and what do you see as kind of the new theme for accounting and for CPAs here and worldwide? Is it consolidation? Is it transparency? How do you see the industry evolving?
Well, I see the profession and industry of accounting evolving certainly in a transparent way. The public out there, the American public, and even the world public, they're tired of scandals. They're tired of people lying. They're tired of corrupt stuff. They want transparency. They want truth. They want people who are ethical. And I really believe that the more that we in NASPA and the state boards of accountancy and the AICPA and the state society of CPAs, the more that we can collaboratively say to the public, here are CPAs that you can believe. They're grounded in ethics. They want to do the right job. They want to go to work every day, not to see what they can get by with in a scandalous way, but how they can enhance your business, how they can create better value for you, and how they can create better value for themselves as being trusted people. If we can do that, I think that's the picture we need to paint out there. To me, going forward, CPAs need to, first of all, be concerned about who they are, the kind of person they are, first of all. And if they're in this thing to get a quick dollar, if they're in becoming a CPA to see how much money they can make at somebody else's expense, we ought to run them out of this business. They'll make a lot of money being ethical. There's nothing wrong with making money. And you can do that being truthful, being transparent, being ethical, being honest with people. And so that's the product we've got to turn out.